Over the years, and thanks to a lack of violence, young people have become more outspoken. Time was when you'd have one guy in a leather jacket who'd pull out a flick knife and rant about how no one understood his quiff. Now a whole generation of teens roam the streets like fog, fearing only each other, filled with a sense of deserve. When I was young, I sat at home and ate marmalade with Paddington Bear. My mother paid little attention, nor did she need to. Her job was to pay the bills. Mine was to play with the bear. I needed no voice to be heard by society and therefore had none. Even if the marmalade hadn't glued my mouth shut, I had nothing to say anyway. Sadly, modern-day high schools don't have bears. They have soft people from the council who say they're listening, but they're not, and they never will. Why? Because the voice of youth is petty and inexperienced, filled largely with the childish grumbles of unfairness. I want this. It shouldn't be like that. Blah, blah, blah. So when the small voices squeak, the big voices nod their heads, build a skate park, and bugger off back to their big offices where they steal all the cash for themselves. But it doesn't go unnoticed. Once children have been promised something, they scream and whine and kick until they get it. Shops get robbed, strangers get stolen, and in some cities, the sewers get overrun by little bastards who look like rats clogging up the waste pipes. If Mother forgot my marmalade, she'd sure know about it. Just as grown adults are knowing about it now. But it's all down to expectation. I never expected anything more than marmalade, so when my mother failed to bring me home a PlayStation, I didn't even notice. If young'uns today don't expect to have life handed to them on a plate, they'll stop spazzing out when it's not. They are, after all, only young. They want the spoils, but not the war. They want the freedom, but not the responsibility. A fact reflected by the lack of pet shops that get looted. Captain Scott of the Antarctic famously once said, "I'm away out late, lads, I'll be back in a bit," which turned out to be untrue. Years later, Ryan Giggs would do a very bad thing and wish with all his heart that he could just go away out and be back in a bit. But sadly by then, the solitude of fatality was not an option. So sit there in his tent of shame Giggs did, setting a brilliant example for youngsters everywhere. Of course, there's no easy civilized answer to disobedience. So, in the absence of electricity as a means of control, we should make more of an effort to properly equip our children with the skills they need to succeed in the real world. Teach them how to go without until the end of the month, and then pay the gas bill so they can go without for some more. Teach them how to work for an arsehole in a job duller than Dale Winton and just live with it. Teach them how to live with someone for 12 years without even liking them. These are the practicalities of life the world over, and if we don't start pouring the miserable truth over our children today, we'll have to put up with a right bunch of arseholes tomorrow.